He was not just a scholar, but a beacon in the darkness of ignorance, a man who reshaped the world through the language of numbers and logic. This is Muhammad ibn Musa Al-Khwarizmi. Muhammad ibn Musa was born in Khwarizm, a flourishing city on the banks of the Jihun River, in the early 9th century AD. In a humble home, Al-Khwarizmi grew up in an environment rich in wisdom and knowledge, where his father encouraged him to seek learning from a very young age. As his brilliance grew, he journeyed to the capital of knowledge, Baghdad, where the House of Wisdom opened its doors to the brightest minds. At the House of Wisdom, Al-Khwarizmi found his calling, a vast library and scholars from around the world discussing astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. He began his studies by documenting what was known of Indian and Greek mathematics, but he didn't stop at translation. He innovated, developed, and created. He wrote his first book on arithmetic, explaining Indian numerals and laying the foundation for the decimal system, the very system we use today. Through him, the concept of zero evolved from a mere void to a revolutionary mathematical tool that forever changed the face of science. But his greatest achievement was a book that transformed mathematics, the compendious book on calculation by completion and balancing, the first systematic treatise on algebra. Algebra, from the Arabic word Algebra, meaning reunion of broken parts. Al-Khwarizmi used it to solve linear and quadratic equations. He didn't rely on symbols alone. He illustrated equation solving through geometric shapes, laying the groundwork for visual algebra. Before Khwarizmi, algebra was a collection of scattered techniques. He organized it into a coherent science with structured principles. He applied the principle of al-muqabala, akin to today's algebraic simplification, transposing terms and adjusting equations to find solutions. His book was translated into Latin in the 12th century, forming the basis of algebra in Europe and being taught in universities for centuries. From his name Al-Khwarizmi, the term algorithm was born, the very essence of computer science today. He didn't stop at mathematics. He wrote on astronomy, mapped the stars, and corrected Indian astronomical tables. He compiled precise tables for the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, helping Muslims determine prayer times and the direction of the Qibla. He led a massive project with scholars of the House of Wisdom, drawing a detailed map of the world, correcting Ptolemy's errors. In his geographical book, he listed coordinates for over 1,000 locations, from China in the east to the Atlantic Ocean in the west. He used latitude and longitude lines to pinpoint locations, a method centuries ahead of its time. He laid down rules for land measurement and explained how algebra and geometry could be applied to everyday life. Thanks to Abbasid Caliph's support, the House of Wisdom flourished, and Al-Khwarizmi and his peers became pioneers of scientific translation and Arabization. He contributed to translating Greek and Indian sciences into Arabic, but he was not merely a translator. He was an innovator and developer. He promoted the scientific method, observation, analysis, and deduction, principles that later became the core of Western scientific thought. Centuries later, his works were taught in European universities, laying the groundwork for the scientific awakening to come. Thanks to him, mathematics was no longer a mystery. It became a tool to measure land, build mosques, and organize markets. The West called him algorithmy, turning his name into a synonym for precise mathematical procedures. What he established 12 centuries ago evolved into the backbone of modern programming, algorithms that power everything from phones to the internet. He left behind no material wealth, but a treasure of knowledge that continues to inspire scientists today. In his later years, he faded from the spotlight, leaving behind a legacy of knowledge, and a humility that outshone fame. The mathematician Kajori once said of him, "The man who taught Europe arithmetic and taught the world how to think in numbers." Al-Khwarizmi's name is still taught in schools worldwide, and his books have been translated into dozens of languages. His story is not just about numbers and equations, but about a man who believed in knowledge and lit the world with it. From the House of Wisdom to modern AI systems, every step in science bears his mark. Al-Khwarizmi was one of the icons of the Islamic Golden Age, when minds united to build an unforgettable civilization. He never saw science as conflicting with faith, but as a path to understanding God's creation. To him, every number held wisdom. He made knowledge a way of life, balancing reason and faith, reality and aspiration. Al-Khwarizmi's message to us: never settle for what you find. Think, seek, create, for knowledge knows no bounds. There in Baghdad, a star rose from Khwarizm, and its light still shines to this day. Al-Khwarizmi, the founding father of algebra and the silent architect of the numbers revolution, a man who lived for science and lives on through it. Let's take a moment to explore some key terms you should know. Term algebra. Algebra, a branch of mathematics that focuses on solving equations and finding unknown values. Term algorithm. Algorithm, a step-by-step set of rules designed to solve a problem or complete a task. Term House of Wisdom. House of Wisdom, a major scientific and cultural center in Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age. Term manuscript. Manuscript, a handwritten book or document, carefully preserved from ancient times. Term astronomy and geography. Astronomy, the study of stars, planets, and the universe. Geography, the study of Earth's landscapes, environments, and places. Term mathematics. Mathematics, the science of numbers, quantities and shapes, and the relationships between them. Term Golden Age of Islam. Golden Age of Islam, a period of cultural, economic, and scientific flourishing in Islamic history, mainly between the 8th and 14th centuries. Term Translation Movement. Translation movement, a major effort during the Islamic Golden Age to translate scientific and philosophical works from Greek, Persian, and Indian sources into Arabic. Term Decimal System. Decimal system, a system of numbers based on powers of 10, widely used today in mathematics and everyday life. Term Astrolabe. Astrolabe, an ancient instrument used by astronomers and navigators to measure the position of stars and planets. Term Surveying. Surveying, the science of measuring land areas and distances, important in mapping and construction. Term Innovation. Innovation, the act of introducing new ideas, methods, or devices to improve human life and knowledge. Knowledge builds civilizations. Keep exploring and never stop learning. Subscribe for more educational stories.